Hello, everybody. Charles Calhoun, aka the Shade Tree Pro. Just on a lovely evening here. It's around about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Let me get this thing set up here. Well, you know what? Tell the truth, I don't really need it. Because, I pretty much have said the things that I needed to say and how I needed to say it. And it's, like I say, it's a nice evening. Let me crack my beer open. I'm going to have me a cocktail before I, lay down for the evening. But I've been, a lot's going on, right? With things, just life in general. And, but, I'm always one of those type of people, and I've always been one of those type of people that, we know the whole saying, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, or whatever. And I know that's just one of the old sayings, but I've always been a type of person that I just can't sit around and just wait for opportunities, in a sense. And, and I'm highly aggressive of the things that I want. And reason being is because, as I said, sometimes, you got to push things over, in a sense, to see what's underneath them, in essence. Because like I said, like a can or anything, a trash barrel, if it just sits in the same place long enough, then basically when you move it over, everything underneath it is pretty much dead, and worms are coming up and all types of things. You learn a lot about that in the country, just leaving things in the same place. And I think that's kind of like our feet. If we don't keep our feet moving, if we don't keep our minds moving, then all of a sudden, it's like, just like the trash can analogy, or the barrel analogy I just used there. Your mind and your brain gets full of worms and basically becomes empty, and and you don't progress. You don't become the best thing that you possibly can be. Now, I know me personally, as I said before when I first said this thing, swallow, spit, and talk shit. That's just something that I do, and that's just a part of my personality, and that ain't gonna never change, in a sense. And if people are offended by it, then it's not on me. That's that's something you have to check with yourself. But I'm not 25 years old anymore. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm 58 years old, and you just don't know what life has for you. You don't know what's around the corner. You're at that. I think I saw Bill Burr, who's got a comedy thing out on Hulu now, talking about the drop dead years. And, as you get older, you really start thinking about those things. That's why you look at your health and certain things, those happen. And even me, I think about those things. But the truth is, I try to think about those things as minimal as possible. I know that they are realistic, and like I said, it is a part of our reality. But you can't stop the train from going. It's kind of like that ball. When it rolls down the hill, it's just got to pick up speed. It's got to pick up steam, and it's got to get, and it's a snowball. It's just got to get bigger, and it's got to get better, in essence. And one of the biggest things that I've done, for all those people who want to know, why I come across, people call it cocky. I find that to be a little bit of an insult, because there's nothing wrong with being cocky. There's nothing wrong with, because I think cocky is what leads to confidence. And I've always said in certain things, that there's healthiness in anything that you do and how you do it. And I've chosen to be the person that I am because it's the person that I built, and I've been very successful in the way that I have chosen to live my life. If you just look at the things around that I've created, and as I said before, I can't tell other people what to do. I can't knock your walls down and come through and make you do whatever you choose to do. I can't do that. I can't force businesses or anything, whatever. That's not me. I can't do that. But what I can do is be the best version of myself and present opportunities in a manner in which shows confidence, cocky if need be, fearlessness, whatever you want to define it as. Now, when I set out, and I told this story before, when I set out to write my information, one of the greatest golfers, they talked about golfers and teachers back in the day, name was Ted Rose. They said he used to change after every 9 holes and just get dress right dress. Well, there were many African Americans or black golfers who played some great golf back in the day, and I used to enjoy the camaraderie of watching like the Champions Tour because I didn't get to see the black golfers coming up. I'm not getting into all the segregation and all that. That's another story for another time. But I used to watch the Champions Tour, and I was just like, whoa, man, just seeing the bros, and, it's almost like the older brothers, the Jim Dents and all those guys, just watching them, with the other players of old, how as they got older, in a sense that their collaborations together, the energy that they brought, especially on the Champions Tour back in the day when Lee Trevino and all them played, the Black Caddies, that was still a part of the thing. I mean, it was good. It felt good. The energy felt good. And in the process of that, I was like, how can you do something, that could be powerful for the young black youth coming up, not just for those who want to play. Because I think, and I'll continue to say, I think one of the biggest mistakes we made as black golfers in the day was so focused on playing, but we wasn't taking the time to look at the business and look at the aspect of it is how can we maintain or collect historical information to be passed on. Legacy is something that's passed on. When I was talking about Ted Rhodes, and they talked about how great of a teacher he was. See, as a writer and a teacher, my thing is that, I would have loved to been able to sit down and read his books about his instruction of what he thought about the grip, what he thought about the setup, and all these different things to get some insight. No different than I sat down and read 5 lessons, or I read something that Jim McClain had wrote, or something that was written by Butch Harmon or David Ledbetter, or any of these great players, Byron Nelson, Jack Nicklaus, Golf My Way, Seymour Dunn, one of the originals of the 5 fundamentals, all these different things. I would have loved, as a black teacher, to be able to set that book down and take a look and do some comparisons to see, of me as a writer and as a teacher, how my information, how it connected. Was they talking about some things that I maybe discovered or didn't know or understand, but unfortunately, that information really wasn't there because we only, as black golfers, the focus was, from my viewpoint, and there's been a few books written, but not so deep into the instruction part. The instruction part is what really is the most powerful part of golf. That's why, the man once told me, he said, Charles, the power of golf is in the teaching. If you do anything, learn to teach, learn how to teach it, because, through teaching, you could touch one person teaching, and that person can touch 10. And those 10 can touch 10 more. And then it just spreads, again, like a wildfire if you have knowledge. So for all you out there who, I don't gonna say don't like me, because you don't know who I am to make a judgment on whatever. You're only going on based on what you think, not what you really know. Because there is not a person in the world who can say, especially about myself, is that I don't put in the work. I mean, it's living proof that I put in the work. In my over close to 1,000 videos that I put in the work. And as I've said before, if I don't have an audience, I'll talk to myself. It doesn't matter, as long as I continuously get the information out there. And as I, always said, and I'll continue to say, it's better to be prepared and have no opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. Well, I'm prepared for anything that comes along. And that's why I have no problem, and I know people get offended, but that's not on me. That's their own personal weaknesses. Now, I tell people that, no, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever challenging any teacher in the world. I don't care from Chris Como. I don't care from Sean Foley. I just Butch Harmon. I don't care, and it ain't personal, people. It's just business. Because there's got to be somebody that's got to stand up, especially as a black teacher, and say, hey, you know what? Look, it's just business, people. That's all it is. Now, I know we got all this crazy stuff going on where they're trying to delete this and delete that and get rid of people. We're in a technology world right now. You know what? It's easy to find out stuff. It's so that's all that is smoke and mirrors anyway, because you can't take, as I said before, you can't unsee something, and the sense, and the most powerful thing in the world is your mind. And once it's there, once it's in your mind, in a sense, then you've got to learn to be true to yourself. And if when you're not true to yourself, then all of a sudden, hate and anger and everything will eat you alive. In other words, it's just like the can sitting on top of one spot. The worms will start eating your mind, and you destroy yourself. But I didn't want to be a person like that. I chose to be this person that I am. And as I said again, I'm not apologetic for me. I'm a competitor. I like to compete. And, and I'll know people, I see people rah, 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 and that, whatever. That's not the kind of competitor I am. I'm a patient competitor. It's just like the sea serpent. They said the sea serpent, he lays on the bottom of the sea. And he lays there peaceful, and he lays there quiet, and you don't even know what he is. And then all of a sudden you just think it's just, just another piece of the bottom of the ocean. And then all of a sudden, something just comes within his parameters, and bam, he strikes. And that's kind of how I feel myself is. Sometime when you do something extraordinary, and I think with Top Down, I've done something extraordinary. People, you won't know it until, like I said, to the opportunity for the people to be able to say, hey, let's see what this really is. Do you know, or do this individual really know what it is that they're saying? People going to say, this, that, how that's going to go. But that's just, and I tell people, that's just communication. That's just those talking. And a lot of times when you see these people talk in a certain way, derogatory towards me, the truth is, people, is all they're doing is those people know that you've created that something is special in what it is that you're doing. They know that. But what they have to do, they have to connect themselves with you. So when you say something or you do something good, people gonna think back and say, hey, I remember when such and such was saying something, and these guys used to come at him all the time. See, they'll remember all that, because unfortunately we're in this day where we remember the negative stuff more so than the positive. But that's just the life we live. But I know that I've created something special. I don't need someone's approval to tell me if it's special or not. I know what it is, because if it's nothing else, it's special to me. It's special to me simply because I know that the time and effort that I put into it, starting at zero and building it up all the way to where it is to this day. And if God doesn't bless me with anything else in my life, when I die, my work is there. And my work is real and it's tangible and it's what I believe. And the only thing that we can do as any human being on this planet, we can only give to what we believe and what we understand. But those beliefs and what we do, in a sense, it's got to be backed by some foundation. It has to be a foundation. It's got to be a reason for you to believe of what you believe and what you understand. There's got to be some realism to it. In other words, it's got to be something that truly affects you, something that you have personally felt, in a sense. Well, I personally felt that the story or the knowledge of African Americans and their contributions to the written word of golf instruction and how it is did not have a voice. Because as I was saying about Ted Rose, that nobody took the time to write this stuff down, and if they didn't, it hasn't been presented. And I've asked. And so that just means that, all that history is gone. Well, I just made a point, or took a moment in my life to say, regardless if people agree with it, it doesn't matter. Being agreeable has absolutely nothing to do with what I've created. I've created it for one thing and one thing only, an option. All my work is nothing but an option. You can choose, and listen, people try to put words in my mouth. I have no problem saying, and I've said it before, I said, when it comes to teaching the top-down swing system and philosophy, I am absolutely the best at it. And why I'm the best at it? Because I wrote it. It took me 12 years to really, really lay out all of these things the way that I see it, and I finally reached my conclusion. Like I said, I wasn't building a swing, I was building a sequence. And I have done it from, like I said, from the rooter to the tutor, lead side, trail side, arms, hands. I mean, it's just very, very, it's very hard for me to back down from, what it is that I know. And what I know that I know. So sometimes I ask myself this question, because I know one thing about teaching golf and the knowledge of the golf swing and how it is, because trust me, I've done it. I can show you books and books and books. I might even have some down here. I mean, books and just writings and rewrites and good God Almighty, to where you just couldn't figure. I mean, it would just keep going and keep going and keep going, because there was so many different things when you're trying to find the golf swing. But somewhere along the way, it kind of breaks off to where you realize that you're not finding the golf swing. What you are doing, in a sense, is just, like I said, you're developing a sequence that creates the golf swing, because a sequence keeps the body moving. I mean, the club does nothing but up, down, back up. And the sequence of the body and the rhythm in itself to get you're flowing. Now, you have the ability, everybody has the ability to build a certain type of sequence and rhythm. That's one of the great things about top down, is that my upper body, middle body, lower body, is that when you build a sequence inside from those areas, upper body, middle body, lower body, when you build your sequence inside of there, then it could be based on your rhythm. That's the beauty of it. You can call it 1, 2, 3. You can call it 1, 2, all the way to 100, whatever you want. That's the beauty of it. But the sequence is the sequence. And as I said, in any golf swing, you're building a sequence for the body to move, in essence, so the arms can swing. And the arms have to swing and the body has to move, to be proficient in what it is that you're doing to create a golf swing. Now, that's what I've done. So regardless, as whether, like I said, the Comos and the tour players or anything, I know what my sequence is. And I'm very confident, with a sense of cockiness, to be able to say, okay, this is what the top down is. This is how it goes. And the thing is, I can define every single moment, and what makes it so special is that not only in the process of building it, I build it in essence to fix and find faults. Because through every process to get to where I am with my top-down swing system and philosophy, I've had to be able to see the cause and effects. What happens if this happened? What happens if that happened? What happens if this goes this way? What happened? Why is the face this? What happens if I grip it too much or this happened or whatever? That's why I just put one video up, or not a video. I put just a single picture up, because the old traditional way of thinking was to take the V's in between the thumbs and the forefingers and point them over towards the shoulder, in a sense, to your shoulder, your ear, and all that. But then when I was able, after years of research and understanding that the thumb is 50% of the strength of your hand, and then it also can go all over the place, and it can lead to so many different things. And I know many, many teachers out there understand that the thumb in themselves, if used improperly, can actually be detrimental to your swing. So that's why I actually put up on those little pictures where I basically said, don't worry about so much about the thumb as much as the knuckle of the index finger, and get them pointed outside your shoulder, because there's a difference between the hands and the thumbs. And once you understand that, it creates these serendipitous type of moments that are just so good for the value of your entire golf swing. I mean, it really is. And I have learned that just came from experience, because although I wrote that book, Dead Fingers in the Middle Wrist, and it's a short book, I guarantee you I probably spent 3 to 4 years just testing every single finger on my hand. Every single finger, every single joint, every single movement, up, down, left, right, all that. I guarantee you a good 3 to 4 years of just testing and testing and testing and testing. So that's why I'm confident. That's why I'm cocky, or whatever you want to define it. Because like I said, I've put in the work. And you might call Michael Jordan confident. You might call Michael Jordan somewhat cocky, and many of them. But that's you know what? That's the stigma that you get when you have this air of arrogance, in a sense. And I don't think having an air of arrogance is a bad thing, because here's why. Here's for me, as I said with me, my cockiness, arrogance, or whatever, is that I'm not doing any of this for me, just for me. I'm doing this to help people, because if I was doing it for just to help me, then I would have never put any books out. I wouldn't have given away. I've given away more free stuff than you could even possibly begin to imagine, simply because, as I said, as it said, the same to go, true happiness is what you do for others and not always everything that you do for yourself. But don't be a fool. Make sure you reward yourself, because we do live in this society. And I tell people all the time, we live in this society that we have bills, we got family, we got things we have to pay. So, I'm not a fool. I mean, I do want to get paid for my work, and I want the best value that I possibly can. So that's one of the reasons I just won't give my top down away, if people really want to sit down and, and talk about, what it is that I've developed and created. Hey, I can go on all day and tell you about, what I've done with top down. And come on, people, you've seen the videos. Come on. You've seen the videos. None of that is made up. It doesn't make a difference whether I stand there with a line that you can see where the ball's going. Doesn't matter if I don't give you some TrackMan numbers and all that. That stuff is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You've seen the swing. It's over and it's over and it's over. You've seen the chipping. You've seen the bunker play. You've seen the putting. It's there. It's what I tell everybody is that, maybe you need to reevaluate in a sense of where you stand. What are you really looking for? What are you really wanting out of golf? That's the biggest thing with most people, even when they're going to teach, when they teach, or they become teachers, they don't really know what they're looking for. The one thing I can still remember this, Lil Pro was alive at the time. Lil Pro was one of the first guys he passed away a few years ago. Well, Lil Pro was a gentleman that I first one to ever do my top down. Started when I started. And he was my first guy. And I told Lil Pro, I mean, after, he was a 100 shooter. And like I said, and before he turned 70, just right at 69, he shot 8 consecutive, was it 8 or 7 or 8 consecutive rounds at Mayfair, where of course he played. He wanted to be able to shoot in this rounds in the 70s. He shot 8 consecutive rounds in the 70s, something like that. 7 or 8 consecutive rounds in the 70s. And but then all of a sudden his health went bad. But he accomplished his goal because he stuck with me at work. And still to that day, and I got videos of him swinging. Still to that day, the principle was still the same. Get the club up, bring it back down, and the body's going to always move. And he turned into a decent little player. And I miss him. Rest in peace, Lil Pro. I miss him a lot, because he was so proud of the thing because he was a recovering alcoholic, 20-some years. And he knew that I liked drinking, George Dickel. And even as a recovering alcoholic, because he had so much pride in himself that he literally would go to the liquor store, and he didn't drink, but he'd go to the liquor store. He ended up giving me a bottle or something like that because I helped him for nothing. I just said, hey, look, I'm doing something special here, I hope. And, if you'd like to come over and meet me at the drive, we was at Metro West Golf Course. I said, if you'd like to meet me at the driving range in the morning, I said, hey, if you're here, you want to be the guy that, help me practice and work on what it is that I'm doing. And he said, Big Pro, I'll be there every morning. And we were there every morning. Every single morning, at least 4 to 5 days a week, we were there, unless I had something to do or whatever. But he was there every single day, and it paid off for him, and it paid off for me. Then I had another gentleman who was very instrumental in the growth of my top down, Earl Vesquez. But he did tell me something. I don't talk to Earl too much anymore. He disappeared. I don't know why, but, life is what it is, and we do the things that we do. But he gave me one piece of advice that actually is the cornerstone of top down, and I cannot deny that. See, I don't care to show people the respect or whatever that I think they deserve it, but he would always tell me, he said, Charles, dumb it down. Just keep dumbing it down. And I dumb top down till absolutely. That's why I said I can line 100 people up or 1,000 people, whoever could hear my voice, and I could still teach them all, how this dead finger grip work, and it's mighty. I could teach every single one of them how you get the club up and how you bring it down. I could teach every single one of them the 3-body setup with the upper body, the middle body, the lower body. In essence, and that's what I've done. So sometime I think, I ask myself the question or whatever is, have I, outsmarted myself? Have I really accomplished the thing that makes the golf swing and the understanding of the golf swing simpler? And maybe that's bad for business because simply, as I said before, one of the biggest problems with most of the teachers that come up there, and in a sense, they don't really come with a true game plan. The people who go searching for the golf swing, they teach information, but I don't know if they really go searching and do like I did, start at zero and say, okay, what is a movement? What does it mean? What does it mean to bend my arm? How is that defined? What does it mean to bend my leg? What is the reason that we have our toes? Which direction can the eye see, in a sense? Which way do we breathe? Do we breathe out our nose? Do we breathe out of our mouth, in a sense? Why do our head turn which way or whatever? Do we see with our focal vision or our peripheral vision? And what role does the ears play in the golf swing? All these different things that I continue to ask questions that maybe not had nothing to do with the golf swing, just had everything to do with us as human beings in general. Because, our senses, are prevalent in just about any walks of life and everything that we do. I remember as a running back and all that, my everything was there. The senses, the smell of the grass, the sight, the hear, the sound, all these different things, played very, very critical roles in my evolution of growing up as an athlete, and as well as my ability to be able to write and talk about the things that I'm talking to you all about this evening. I need a little sip here, people. Still like that Miller High Life. But I truly, honestly know, even for my own edification, is that the things that I've done and what I've created, it came from, how you want to say it? What would be a way that I could say this so you may understand it? It came from me one day when I finally realized that when I was doing my golfing or doing writing, my top down and learning and all these things that that I've been doing, that I don't know if I really had a plan. I have to say that. I had a plan of that, exactly how I was going to build the golf swing and all that and start that. I had that plan. But I don't know if I had a plan of how this was going to be marketed, whatever the deal is. I probably didn't have a plan that, because to tell the truth, I didn't know truthfully how exceptional that it was going to end up being. But phew, it turned out pretty damn good, I have to say that. So I kind of was like focused on, you got to get this, got to get this, got to go over here, got to go here. And I remember this one of the favorite stories that I read, some years back here. And, it just phenomenal. Russell Herman Caldwell, as I may have said, talked about this before, the founder of Temple University. The story of the acres of diamonds. Excuse me there. The story of the acres of diamond. I sit there and I try to even, and you all need to check that, read that, or just go bring it up on YouTube and just hear Earl Nightingale talk about that. Phenomenal, because it did open up my eyes from the business side of this and start thinking about it from a different perspective, and I started looking at it from that story, because I can remember that a lot of us, I even talked to my wife about these things, is like me personally, if I believe that I'm setting on a gold mine, and I do, there's no question, a gold mine of knowledge, because knowledge is power. There's millions and millions of people out there who play game of golf, who wish they could learn it and understand it in a more simpler term, or even something that, that could be more repetitive in essence, instead of just spot here, spot there, but, like a dance or anything like that. But I was also one of those that was looking outside of my acres of diamonds. And then I start realizing when I heard that story is that one of the biggest reasons that I hadn't gotten the success that I was looking for in life, or kind of wanted in life, is that I was looking what everybody else was doing, and I wasn't really paying attention to what it is that I had here on my own acres of diamonds. And my acres of diamonds, in a sense, wasn't really getting the work. So during the process of me building top down and creating and writing it, I was more, and I did it because we all get caught up in this trap. I was more about doing it to comparing it to what others was doing, instead of just writing what I understood, putting my efforts into it, putting my work, creating it from my beliefs, my understandings. And one of the reasons that, man, I told you all earlier, I said, you'll just write, because it was based on what somebody else was thinking. And then all of a sudden I'd write something, or I'd learn something, I'd feel something, and then I start writing about it. And then I'd read in a magazine that something said here, and then I start questioning what it is here, even though I know what I did right here absolutely worked. But yet, based on maybe who had said this might be the new information that's out there, that's coming out, and this and that, whatever. And so that led to me just writing until it was just like a stack of knowledge and information over my head. And like I said, when I start dumbing it down and I start paying attention to my acres of diamond, what it is that I believe, well, not what somebody else says. That's why I fight so hard when someone wants to argue with me or debate with me about what somebody else says based on not what they're saying, but what they've read somebody else says, and then argue that against what I know and understand based on what I've developed, taking secondhand knowledge. Yeah, I do have a problem with that, because we don't really know if they still believe that. But there's nothing in top down to this day right now. There's not one piece of top down in it that I don't believe. And I don't really make it execute in some way, shape, or form. What I done is just made it completely simpler. Because as I said before, just a process how it goes down, dumbing itself down. And I just reached a point, in essence, when I start paying attention to my acres of diamonds, when I start realizing that, the only reason that my pasture is not as green as others is because I wasn't giving it the work that it needed that it deserved or needed. So then all of a sudden I just started blocking myself off from everything. And I said, the only way that I'm going to write top down, my dead fingers and all this, the only way I'm going to do this is that I got to blindly go into this and figure out what it is that I understand, what I know. And I start giving my pasture work. And slowly, when I start giving my pasture work and I start seeing and I start watering the seeds, then all of a sudden I start seeing, and it took a minute, but then I looked out there and each day I saw just a little bit more green and a little bit more green. And then it helped me water it a little bit more. And then it just got greener and it got thicker. And then I start fertilizing it, with truth. I start trusting what it is that I was writing, because anytime you start writing and you really don't know the outcome, there's going to be a level of insecurities that kind of may pull you back and stop you from writing. But then all of a sudden, I just start seeing these things. Now, so it wasn't no success so much in the ball striking and all that stuff. I've always been able to hit a ball good. But the thing is, while the grass kept growing, because I'd wake up and I go to the range, and that same action worked. And then I go to the range, and that same action worked again. And it worked again, and it worked again. And it was the equivalent of me, as I felt like the water was going on the ground. Oh, I was putting it on the ground because it had been fertilized, and it was just starting to get green and green. And now I reached a point in the sense that I've made that green because I actually, as I said, I put the work in on my acres of diamonds. I put that work in on what I owned. I put that work in, and now it's so green and so beautiful in a sense that it reminds me, it is real grass. Don't get me wrong. It's real grass, but it's so beautiful. It reminds you of artificial turf. That's how beautiful it is, because the work was put into it. So all those people out there, as I said, because I know I've been going on here, I'm going to always swallow spit and talk shit. That's just who I am. But I am 100% true to what it is that I do. If the good Lord tells me that this is as far as I go, then hey, you know what? I left a legacy of information for young brothers and sisters and everybody else who want to be able to learn something. Because like I said, if it's not there for you to learn, then you can't learn. But if you make it available for people to learn, then guess what? Somebody's going to learn. or somebody's going to take the opportunity to learn. And then more important, as I tell people all the time, and I try to say it, is this. Look, I am absolutely, and I know this, I am one good interview away. Somebody who really knows how to interview. Somebody who really, really wants to talk about the real work. Not all this dumb shit, but talk about the real work, the energy and the efforts and why I did the things that I do. Because I've got an amazing story to really talk about what it is that I've done, why I did it. And if you want to interview me, you want to talk to me, I got a beautiful place over at the Marriott Grand Vista here in Orlando, Florida, because I won't do nothing sitting down. You want to sit down? You want to interview me? You want to talk to me about my top down? See what it's about? See where we are? You know, in essence, then we'll do it on the place that I like to be, or the place that I find the most peace. It's right there on the driving range. You know, where I enjoy myself. You know, hey, anybody's welcome. Anybody's welcome to, you know, to, like I said, you know. I feel, you know, I can definitely create content. There's no question about that. But people, I'm going to tell you this right now. You know, I'm always going to be me. And everybody who knows me, this is not some made up stuff. You know, when I come at y'all's ass, you know, and I'm letting it out, that's me. That's who I am. Because I'm not fake. And anybody knows me. I am not fake. There's nothing on me that's fake. You know, this is authentic Charles, and anybody who knows me, if they say, you know, you're still the same Charles, well, that's what my mama raised me to be, and that's how I got to be. And I can't be no more than myself. And anything else, you know, it just ain't me. So you get 100% who I am. You know, it might be somebody piss me off, and then all of a sudden I'm going to let that voice out. But that's it. Tonight's just happened to be a good night, because I'm just talking about, you know, I'm talking about from the heart and the soul. And I'm talking about one of the most important things that you out there don't ever forget. And you remind yourself, in a sense, the reason, in a sense, that you got worms growing under your feet and it's getting brown underneath your feet because you ain't keeping it moving. You got to keep it moving. And that's even in your mind and your ass. You know, you got to keep it moving. Another thing in itself, and I always want you to never forget, because I just now talked about it, make sure regardless of the circumstances, take the moment and find your acres of diamond. Hey, this is Charles Calhoun, a.k.a. the Shade Tree Pro. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit there on this evening and be able to talk to you. Hey, also, I want to say something to a few brothers out there who have been giving me some feedback about, you know, me talking about, as in my podcast, you know, certain things or whatever. Hey, much love to you. Thank you very much. And like I said, you know, I still continue to do my best to be able to hit that structure as you all talked about. Like I said, much love to you. Much, much, much appreciation for that. Because as I said before, when it comes to top down, you know, I got that. But when it comes to these things that you see, that you think that, hey, you could be this. Hey, look, I'm always teachable and always coachable when it comes to those things or whatever. Once again, like I say to those brothers, much love. Thank you and I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. OG to OG, you know how that goes. And once again, people, like I said, you know, I got to enjoy my Miller. Charles Calhoun, a.k.a. the Shade Tree Pro. Always good golfing.